into that. Well, here's an example right here.
So earlier today, I'm sitting there. I worked out. I was getting ready to get dressed and all that. There's a friend, Paul, you know him, and Craig, you know him, Adam Batchelor. He's a huge Iowa State Cyclones fan. He goes to anything they play here. He travels around. He's great. Here's a beer drinking Iowa State Cyclone fan. And he was mumbling a little bit. He was kind of talking, and normally he's not there when I'm there. And he started talking about NIL and transfer, and he mentioned Hunter, and I didn't know what he was talking about. I thought he was talking about a football player. So finally I said, Adam, who are you talking about? And he's talking about Iowa freshman basketball star Tyrese Hunter, Big 12 Freshman of the Year. And he said, he goes, I have not been on our message boards yet, but he said there is a little bit of that out there that somebody offered him in the neighborhood of a $4 million NIL deal. He's a superstar player. And he put up, like soon after that, here comes I love the Cyclone family, thinks this and that, but after speaking to that, I'm going to enter the portal. That was like an hour or two after that Adam had mentioned that. I didn't know that this was out there. And if you go on your Twitter feed and you go under Tyrese Hunter NIL, you will see thread after thread after thread about, what's happening here. North Carolina is a team that's been brought up. Now, again, this is right now just discussion, like a message board. We have one, you are on yours or whatever, and hopefully it's ours as well. But this could be interesting to see how this Tyrese Hunter story plays out.
Well, it's going to play out with him cashing a big check at probably a bigger school. That's how it's going to end up. Unless he pulls a Mims, all of a sudden he's like, hey, Iowa State, surprise, I'm back. I don't think that's going to happen, though, because clearly – he's already heard enough to make this decision. He's already heard about, I'm sure, that $4 million rumor or whatever. He's been proposed that offer, I'm sure. So, hey, when you don't really have rules and you encourage it, if anything, this shouldn't come as a surprise. Tyrese Hunter has to make a decision that's best for him. And if somebody's offering him $4 million to go play as a sophomore next year and, Iowa State can't match that or whatever, this is the world that everybody wanted, right? This is the free market. This is college players getting paid. So, if you were all about it, then you must be celebrating this. If you're not, maybe you're realizing, hey, this isn't as great as I thought it would be. But, regardless, again, we just have to get used to it. This is the world now. This is NIL, and this is college athletics, and this is the way it's going to be. And he won't be the last. He's not the first, and there will be many more just like that.
Here's the other thing. I think just optically, fans should probably back off and embrace it, because the more they push back, the more the pushback will be, well, they've got to be in a union. They've got to be this. They've got to be recognized as employees and all that.
Oh, well, the latest thing that old Pro Football Talk, was it Florio? Did you see what his latest little idea is? He had a tweet, I don't know, some point over the weekend where he was, and I don't know what the reasoning behind it was. It almost seems like I thought I saw somebody respond of like, hey, way to just create problems that aren't even there, because some people are so good about doing that. And he was talking about the guys who show up to the draft and how they should demand to be paid now because they're on a multi-million-dollar broadcast and they're sitting in the green room and the cameras are on them. And, for the most part, I saw a lot of people reacting going like, Jesus, like, really? Like, do we have to pay out the wazoo for every little thing? And then you see the other side and you say, okay, technically they're on TV. They're making millions at ESPN and all of that, but like, golly, man, it's like every single thing got to be about money, everything.
Remember when one of the first ever players to bypass a bowl game because of the Jalen Smith deal, and not just him but others, but remember the first time. Remember the first high school player who bypassed his senior year because he didn't want to risk injury. And I don't think I ever realized, and that's understandable, but it really has opened up just a can of everything.
Well, and look, if you have an agent worth your salt, and especially if you're going to Vegas where the draft is this year, if the agent can't get you an appearance fee somewhere,
Paul, they're getting that
at the draft. So that's what Florio's ignoring there, is that most of those guys
they're being flown there. Yeah. They're being put up there. They're being wined and dined there. They're going to all the parties there. They have it's a great free vacation from the NFL. And the other thing is, some of the guys that don't go, I'll just give you the example of Paxton Lynch. Paxton Lynch, who is a USFL star
star now, but he was at a Wingstop. And why was it Paxton Lynch at a Wingstop and not somewhere else? Because Wingstop paid for him to be there.
No.
So these guys are getting money to do things. So, yeah, again, he's creating a problem that's not really there.
Exactly.
And, I would gladly go to the draft for everything they're offering me, especially considering that the next morning I wake up and I'm a millionaire anyway.
They're not staying in a one-bedroom place. It's like with maybe not even a walk-in bathroom. Timothy Vermeer, who's a huge Iowa Hawkeyes fan, had to get this one in. He probably drinks Busch Light with a bunch of emojis of being sick. And then it's planting season. Iowa State alums are spending their money on seed and fertilizer.
Well, I mean, maybe he didn't like Busch Light. Maybe that's why he's out of town. Maybe he's heading to a different part of the country for some different options.
I can tell you that Adam Batchelor, our friend, does not drink Busch Light.
He drinks beer.
So he is not the stereotypical Iowa State fan.
He drinks beer, cold beer, hot beer, warm beer, old beer. He drinks beer from Dolfo. Iowa State alums and donors just can't match it.
Well,
not the school.
I did see just a little while ago Chris Williams, who's one of the big Cyclones reporters. I think it's Cyclone Fanatic, the website that he runs. He tweeted a little while ago. I've been on the road today, so I've only been able to kind of been in and out. But I saw him a little while ago tweet about Iowa State alums coming together for a collective that is going to launch here pretty soon. And my reaction was like, wow, that's kind of late to the party. But maybe. Clearly that was already in the works to some extent, but I do think the Tyrese Hunter decision today has probably hurried along that process and made them realize, like, yeah, we better get together and start our own little deal here. So, if you don't have one of those collectives already, you're already behind the game. And, that's a tough pill to swallow. I do think college sports has pretty much always been built towards the blue bloods, unlike, the NFL where, they keep everything like, hey, everybody's got a chance to be competitive. If you haven't been winning, well, hey, you get high draft picks. There's things like that are benefits. There is none of that in college football. So if you're not one of like 15 schools or somebody who's just got a whole heck of a lot of money, then this is what everybody asked for. You wanted college athletes to get paid. The administrators don't want to make any decisions because they're afraid of what the government's going to do. So, I mean, this is what it is. So you just get used to it, and you just got to hope that you do have that collective that's able to match more often than not. And hope ultimately, I think it's going to come down to your culture and whether or not you can just, be the program that can't spend maybe $2 million a year, but maybe a few $100,000 is good, and the rest of it is taken care of with just the experience. There is something to be said for that. I know we're all money obsessed, but there is something to be said that maybe you're not getting the most, but you are getting enough to be comfortable, and there's also happiness. There's this thing called happiness that comes with the right choice.
And Baylor's trying to produce that with what they're doing in men's basketball, and of course what they've done as well with football, and Mac Rhodes discussed that a little bit last week. Couple of chat room comments, then a break, and we come back with Colt.
And that sucks for Iowa State.
Yeah, it really does.
Really sucks for Iowa State.
Coaches have been doing this transfer portal. The best ever example was Tommy Tuberville, who walked out of a recruit's dinner. And next thing you know, he's gone.
Portal, yeah.
Also from, let's see here, from Chris, that's the same one. Paul then mentioned, how did Florida State lose out on a transfer? I heard they have more females on campus than males.
Well, 3-1. I mean, there's a reason that I went there. I mean, I
enjoyed my time in Tallahassee a few years back. Good place.
What's my job here now? I'm not a nuclear physicist. Okay, so it wasn't. Not that the school's bad academically.
So if you were getting ready to pick another college and it was time for you to pick a college, what would...
At 42 years old? It probably doesn't matter.
Would you go to Florida State now?
It would be, part of the...
Careful.
No, but part of the allure was not just that, but it was also like the fact that, the football team was good, everything was good. Yeah. So it was the whole package.
And you lived in Florida at the same time. All right. And Neilio, by the way, he goes, listen, we had to figure this out as K-State. We lost Nigel Pack. First team all Big 12 player. So there's that Tyrese Hunter story. The Amaris Mims back to Georgia. But the Tyrese Hunter story is popped, and there's all sorts of speculation of what's next for him.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I don't know all the schools involved. Again, I've been on the road today, so I haven't been able to look at everything I wanted to look at normally. But, I'm sure we'll hear some blue blood name attached to him here in the next few days, and at some point there will be a story, indicating at least a loose figure on whatever. $4 million seems to be the number you were talking about, so that's that's nuts. And yeah, I just really hate that for Iowa State. I mean, you had a tremendous year, new coach that's, trying to get the program back on track. And after a really tough year last year, they had one of the biggest turnarounds in all of college basketball, make the tournament, keep all that momentum going into the offseason, and then, just abruptly like this, your young star's gone, and not for any reason of your own, not because of a coaching situation or doesn't get along with teammates or you suck or Ames sucks or whatever. It's none of that. It's just, somebody else gave him a phone call through an intermediary or, DM'd him or whatever, and was like, hey, what would it take to get you out of Ames? And then we all got to get used to it. It's just the world we live in now.
So you wonder about where he'll end up. Also, the Drew